So my name is Dominic Butler. I'm the lead game designer for Recon Wildlands.
So what were your goals heading into this massive open world game?
For us, really, the idea was to put the total freedom of choice into the hands of the player. We came from a long heritage of making Ghost Recon games. A lot of the team have worked in the Ghost Recon franchise for 10 plus years. We always want to bring something new. And thanks to the power of the PCs, the latest console hardware, we've been able to bring the open world, which gives the total freedom of choice of where to go, do what you want, when you want. So it's right in the player's hands to achieve their objectives.
What did Bolivia open up creatively for you guys in building this world out?
Well, Bolivia is a place of unparalleled natural beauty. It's just incredible, and as well as having a very rich, diverse culture, geographically we have many different ecosystems. We've been able to represent 11 of those in our game. What that means is you've got snow-peaked mountains, you've got salt deserts, you've got jungles, swamps, you've got everything in between. And this is Ubisoft's largest action-adventure open world, but it doesn't just mean bigger is better. As you travel across this world, you're going to see the world change. You can really feel those differences. They're reflected in the community, but most importantly, they're reflected in gameplay challenges to the player, because you just can't play the same way in a desert flat where long distances, you can see them coming, they can see you coming, versus playing in a swamp or dense jungle where it's very close quarters. You're going to have to mix it up. And that's what we want to do. We want to offer that challenge to the player to say, here's a bunch of cool tools, play the way you want, here's a simple goal and objective, figure it out.
What are some of the environments you're showing off here at E3?
So at E3 we're focused on around the Mojocoyo region and around the desert provinces right now. And as he said, we've got a bunch of different ecosystems, each of them fully realized, each of them with different local businesses, with different gameplay challenges, with different vehicles that are going to suit those terrains.
The entire game can be played solo or co-op. How do you ramp up the action when I'm going to be playing with friends versus with me going alone?
So in fact, the action never stops. We play in solo, you're always supported by up to 3 AI teammates. And then as friends become available or you want to jump into a friend's game, we swap you in for those AI. So it's drop in, drop out, but it means that the action is always going. There isn't a solo campaign and a co-op campaign. In fact, you're always playing Ghost Recon Wildlands. We merge your progression when your friends come together, and if for whatever reason somebody's got a prior engagement or bad connection, they need to leave, you don't have to stop your game. You keep playing, you keep progressing. They don't lose anything for leaving. They take their progression with them. So it's always a positive thing.
Can you talk about the storyline and going after this ultimate bad guy?
Sure, I can give you the overall context. It's just quite a lot to cover. So the simplest version is we're here to go after the Santa Blanca cartel. Their leader is a guy called El Sueño, and he's the head of the organization. He's not an unpleasant guy. And he's taken over all of Bolivia. They've turned it into a narco state, but really they run their cartel like a business. So you have different parts of that organization. We have security, influence, smuggling, and production. And each of these have lieutenants. They have sub-lieutenants that are on the ground, controlling different regions, controlling those aspects of the business. And as a player, you're going to have to seek out these sub-lieutenants to get at their bosses to ultimately go after El Sueño. And really that's what it's about. All of those sub-lieutenants have their own backstory, have their own characteristics, have their own gameplay styles, and it's just going to be great fun for the player to discover.
And they can do this any way they want. Can you talk about that openness of how they go about taking them down?
Sure. So the total freedom of choice is really the key message that we want to get across. It's from a micro level in terms of how do I approach this particular objective, how do I want to get into this camp, right out to a macro level of I start in the center of the map and I can go north, south, east, west. I can follow the breadcrumbs trails wherever they lead me, but we don't put any artificial barriers. We don't tell you have to do this before you do that. So in essence, the player can approach those missions in any order. There's a strong narrative hook all the way through, but we've built it to be digested piece by piece. It's up to the player. Maybe you hit a point where the camps are a little bit too hard for your level. You're not upgraded, you're not developed enough for a particular camp, for a particular challenge. Guess what? You don't have to stop. Take a left, take a right, try a different approach, try a different area, come back later, bring that force, bring that progression with you, and achieve your objectives.
Can you just briefly talk about the 4 ghosts and maybe what their specialties are in the game?
So in fact, the 4 ghosts, it's always a team of 4 specialists, but The ghosts are adaptable, right? So it's not that we didn't go for a class-based system of one's a sniper or one's recon. Really, we wanted to give the player a suite of tools, a suite of options, and then say, look, play the way you want. We're not going to say, okay, the sniper just can only play long range, or the recon guy is limited to only scoping out enemies and opportunities. In fact, you can do whatever you want to do, and often you're going to be, let's say, challenged to leave your comfort zone a little bit. Even if you're a heavy recon, I'm going to play this long distance, sometimes the world's going to react, it's going to turn on you, and you're going to have to be assault, you're going to have to, take off the suppressors, you're going to have to go loud, and vice versa. Sometimes maybe you're used to playing loud, and you're finding it's the reaction of the world is just too heavy for you. Well, you're going to mix it up again. But we're going to give you all of those tools to do it your way.
And speaking of tools, what are some of the cool weapons and gadgets that are available?
Sure. Well, so what we were able to show at E3 this time, because we're putting the demo in the hands of the players, it's really exciting. We're showing the drone is the key part of the Ghost equipment. Every Ghost has a basic drone, and they're there for the core part of recon. Now you can upgrade them later on with offensive and defensive options, with better recon options, supporting again whatever way you like to play. But everybody's got a drone. And it's a key part of your equipment. The game is set in the near future, so we didn't go too high tech. We've got a lot of real weapons, working with weapon manufacturers, working with agencies. So we've got several different weapons across multiple types. We've got our attachments, real aftermarket parts. We've got customization options. We've got equipment and gear. It's the full suite. But Tom Clancy brand is all about authenticity, about plausibility, and it's no different in Ghost Recon Wildlands.
And speaking of authenticity, can you talk a little about the real Mexican cartels and the research you guys did in bringing up this fictional version?
So really, the idea with any Tom Clancy brand is to look at something that does exist, something that is present there in the news that you can research, and it's part of the real life. And in this case, we do see the cartels in the news, we see it in regular news reports. It's happening now. But then with with Wildlands and with all of Tom Clancy brand in general, we have the luxury of saying what if, right? Of taking one aspect of this bigger picture and saying, what if this thing got dialed up to 11? What if it got out of control? And in our case, that's saying, well, what if these Mexican drug cartels decided to take things really to the next level and just to move into a country like Bolivia, where coca leaf is part of their normal daily culture. They use it for remedies, it's natural remedies to treat altitude sickness. It's everywhere because it's part of their regular daily life. But what if this drug cartel came in, took over all of those resources and then turned them into cocaine production, right? And to become the #1 producer of cocaine on the planet. What would that look like? What would it look like as a place, as a country that's been taken over by this cartel? And what would it look like in terms of reaction? So in our case, that's the Ghost. That's the best of the best. They're being sent in, that overall objective, and then it's up to them to figure out how to achieve that objective.
The last thing, can you talk about the vehicles you guys showcased some in the trailer?
Yes, so we've got more than 60 different vehicles in the game. We've got across air, sea, and land. We've got boats, buggies, bikes, helicopters, planes, armored vehicles, farm vehicles. Everything that you see, you can drive, you can use it if you want. Obviously, some are going to be better suited. Rolling up in a tractor is not going to give you a lot of armor support, but you can do it if you want, right? We're not going to tell you no. And of course, our aerial vehicles allow you to base jump out and use that aerial approach. You can drop down into camps, you can drop right behind enemy lines. Maybe you come in at night and you use that low light to your advantage, stay out of the spotlights and be right in the middle of the camp and then work your way out from there. It's really up to you.